Hey everybody, Ty, your metalhead weatherman here. Hopefully you guys are all doing well. Hopefully you guys have had a good weekend. So, things have been a little bit busy on this end. There's a few projects I'm having to work on right now, and as a result, I wasn't able to upload yesterday. I'm still gonna probably maintain more of the morning upload schedule, more so than anything else. I'll try to pre-record some stuff to upload in the afternoons if that's what you're wanting. But things are still pretty busy right now, not just on my end, but on the end of the weather, particularly towards the tropics right now. We still have Lee hanging around, back up to major hurricane status with a central pressure of 950 millibars and wind speeds up to 120 miles an hour. Definitely has slowed down in regards to its forward momentum here. It's at 7 miles an hour, so this will give it a chance to strengthen further here. We have Margot here, which is starting to do a lot better now. At one point, we were starting to wonder if it would make hurricane. I think it still will. And then we have two more areas of interest right here as well to keep an eye on. One that's going to be almost following in the coattails of Lee. But the question is going to be, where will this end up going? If this ends up remaining weak, things could get interesting. Because, as I've said before many times, usually the stronger that these storms get, the more likely that they are to end up going out to sea. You'll see it go often more towards this way, but if they're weaker, they usually will keep more of a west or west-southwestward track, which would be a little bit more towards this way. Margot's already making that turn to the north here, so she will not be a factor. But these next two storms are going to be interesting, especially this one that's highlighted in the orange area, which has a 50% chance of developing within the next 7 days here. So a lot of interesting stuff to keep track of here. As far as the maximum strength of these storms, 115 knots for Hurricane Lee is what the maximum forecast strength would be. But Lee in the past has been quite the overperformer here, so we can't let our guard down. Also noticed a few things going on with the trend here. If you can actually look at the storm here, you can notice it's increasing in size. When these storms tend to weaken after being a really strong hurricane, they often will do this. The wind field and the overall effects, or the overall span of the effects, will increase along with just the size of the storm in general. As far as the track is concerned, you can still clearly see that can't entirely take the northeast out of the gun. In fact, it's taken a little bit more of a trend to the west here, so can't say that you guys further up towards, let's say, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Maine, maybe even Connecticut and New York aren't out of the gun just yet. So we got to keep a close eye on you guys. And then also, when we look on the spaghetti models here, does do well on the intensity here. At least makes it up to a minimal to maybe even mid-grade category 4. A couple of them have it pushing to 5, which I'm not really buying into right now. Spaghetti models on this are still down, but thankfully we have tropical tidbits, which will give us a better look at the path over the next 5 days. It's pretty much what the cone is showing at this point now, but you can see that the pressure really drops over the next couple of days. We get up to about 116 knots, which is just slightly above 130 miles an hour. And then as time goes on, we can see that this storm is making an awfully close pass here, weakening thankfully, but making an awfully close pass to either the east or maybe even making landfall around some of the greater New England area here. So in particular, I'd be saying keep your guard up if you're over towards Maine, like I said, from Maine all the way down to even Connecticut, maybe even Rhode Island and New York as well. But we'll have to see how this plays out here. But this is what the storm is looking like as far as wind is concerned. If we actually look at it on satellite, it looks just about the same roughly, I would say. It's about where we would be about 3 days from now. You can see the storm is still relatively organized, but given the fact that we're going to a point where waters are going to be a little bit cooler, it may weaken a little bit more rapidly than what this is even indicating here. Could even end up being extra tropical, which would be interesting as well. Nonetheless, the effects will be felt across the Northeast regardless, whether it's rip current, surf, or a landfalling tropical system or extra tropical system. Still a big problem, so definitely something to keep an eye on. As far as the week is concerned, we're looking at severe weather potential here today, in particular across parts of Texas and New Mexico. It's a slight risk, does have a 2% tornado area, and then we also have a marginal risk over here towards Florida, where we have Jacksonville, Orlando, and Melbourne under the gun here. 2% tornado area is only for Texas. The main threats for Florida, along with Texas, is going to be wind, and then also hail is a thing in Texas towards Lubbock, and then parts of eastern and maybe even more, I would say more so central east or east central New Mexico, I should say. As far as day 2 is concerned, no severe weather in the forecast there. And then on day 3, there is a marginal risk in the same exact area. Then there's also a secondary marginal risk that's popped up over here towards Boston. Unclear what the hazards are at this time, but we can take a look into that just a little bit here in this video before we get going here. But to give you a look at the week ahead here, looking at one of my favorite maps here, it's the height anomaly. Gives us a look at what air masses we're dealing with here. And from what we can see, this little blue blob here is cold air. Red blob, of course, is warm air. Do see an increase in activity occurring here across the Midwest and parts of the Southeast. It's not a very strong air mass though, so it's not gonna really do a lot starting out. Down the line though, I think this is what's going to be the main catalyst for our severe weather. Definitely from the looks of it here, I would like to think that this would be mainly damaging winds, mainly because this is a positively tilted trough from the looks of it here. But as time goes on, this will get moving. By the time it would even get close to a neutral or negative tilt, it'll be already out of here. Here's a look at Lee from this point now. We're about 90 hours out, or 93 hours out, excuse me. And then we also see an increase in cold air coming across the southeast. We've been anticipating this for a little bit. This is going to bring the temperatures down over towards this region. So we're starting to shift into what looks to be more of a positive PNA setup here. Much deeper trough. Looks like it starts to try and take shape here about 150 hours out. And then as time goes on, this air mass looks a lot more stout. And this in turn could not only bring more fall-like weather, but it could even increase the severe weather threat here. So definitely need to be keeping an eye on that. And then as time goes on, we start to look like we shift into more of an active pattern as we get later into the month. So times are changing, pattern is definitely changing. And then as we look at the mid to upper levels of the atmosphere as far as the wind is concerned, taking a look at today's setup, definitely seems like there's a decent bit of potential over here. Likely expecting a shortwave to be the catalyst behind this setup today. We'll see what happens with that. Mainly thinking, of course, wind and hail. Can't rule out a tornado, but I wouldn't expect a lot out of this. I wouldn't expect it to be a high report yielding day, or high report number yielding day. Cannot speak this morning. But anyway, here's our trough. Like I said, this really looks like a ideal setup for damaging winds across the Northeast on Wednesday. Thursday, we're looking pretty calm. Potential's too low from days 4 through 8, so definitely some good news there. And then, of course, as we go on, we can anticipate the pattern starting to become a little bit more active, maybe even the mid-Atlantic getting involved here. So as far as temperatures are concerned for the week, this is going to definitely be a really good reflection of what we were seeing on height anomaly here. Still plenty of 80s and 90s at times over the course of the week for the southeast, but notice those 90s are becoming more and more they're becoming more less common, becoming less prevalent. Cannot speak this morning, jeez. But as time goes on here throughout the week and really into even the following week, we're starting to look a little bit nicer over here. Towards the heart of the country, we're still warm, but even then, at one point we were seeing 110, 114 in some of these areas here, and now we're not seeing that anymore. So could we be towards the end of this? That's the question. This has been a ridiculous heat wave going on here towards the heart of the country. Towards the southwest even, it looks like we've cooled down a little bit. Not seeing as many triple digits over there either, so definitely some reassuring signs here that we might be starting to see some fall weather finally, because I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure I've had enough of I'm pretty sure I've had enough of summer, especially since I work outside. I know I mentioned it a lot, but daggone it, being out here is rough. So here's what the precipitation could look like throughout the course of the week. Let me make sure I move this down so you can see every state. But here's a few upper level low systems here. This is going to be the catalyst for our severe weather Wednesday. We already looked at what we have in store for today. And then beyond that point, we have a couple of not robust, but a couple of random systems flying around here, increasing the rain chance. As we get towards next week, this is towards Sunday, we could see some showers and thunderstorm activity once again across the southeast, like we saw this last weekend as well. Then beyond that, we start to see the northeast come into play here. And then if we look further beyond all the way towards the end of where this model is currently, we're even starting to see some snow back into the picture here. It's the far northern reaches of Montana here, but nonetheless, the sign fall is coming, baby. I'm looking forward to it, honestly. Let's hope it isn't too crazy with the weather, though, of course. But this one last thing that we're going to look at here, and this is really what we can expect over the next 5 days as far as precipitation is concerned. So this will cover the week. The most concentrated point of rainfall is definitely going to be towards the heart of the country, especially towards Texas. Oklahoma is another spot of interest right here. You could see up to maybe 5 inches over the next few days. Also, Colorado looks like they get their fair share of action here. And then, of course, we're still watching Lee over here for the Northeast. We'll have to see what happens there. But other than that, relatively minor stuff going on for the most of the country, which is good news. Of course, like I said, keep an eye on Lee. Also keep an eye on the channel. Make sure you get the bell on. Make sure you, if you haven't subscribed already, definitely do that. And also make sure you're hitting that like button. And if you got any questions in the comments, let me know. That being said, gotta run here. This has been Metalhead Weatherman. I will see you guys in the next video. Till then, take care. Have a good day.